Well, that would be the signature of President Donald Trump. Joining me with more details today, our CNN Chief National Affairs Correspondent, Jeff Zeleny. Jeff, walk us through what the president said about this Alien Enemies Act. And does the White House have any explanation for, he says, I don't have much to do with this. That's his signature.
It is his signature, and we did find that in the Federal Registry, which is a handy place when a president is doing so many executive orders. It is for the record there. No, the White House tonight is not explaining the discrepancy here with the president saying he did not sign it, but they are standing behind the meaning of it. And the president has been consistent in the sense he thinks that these people are bad guys, in his words. He says it again and again, and due process clearly is not a concern of this administration or the president. However, it was very interesting. I was out on the South Lawn of the White House as the president was saying that, and he invoked Marco Rubio on his own. He wasn't asked about the Secretary of State. He brought him up on his own. I thought that was absolutely fascinating. The president, we've seen a few times trying to pass the buck a little bit. So yes, he stands behind the idea of it, but does not want to get sort of caught up in the legality of it. But it is very, very interesting. But how this sort of played out last weekend, the president signed this document on Friday night. No one knew about it. On Saturday, they invoked this late in the day on Saturday, and they announced it as the hearing was going on. And then, of course, shortly after, as you said, those planes were taking off. So this all came to a head, of course, because the judge is sort of fly-specking all of this, the timeline of it, the actual reasoning of it. And the bottom line is this a time of war? The judge is saying the government hasn't proved that yet.
So tell us more about the judge, because you heard the president today, 3 times he talked about this today, and again, as he has throughout the past week of sparring, questioning whether the judge or any judge has the power to question anything he does. The judge is clearly getting frustrated. Give us more on his demeanor in the court.
Look, our colleagues who were in the courtroom today said the judge, it was clear he was being very thorough about this and frustrated with the government lawyers here. He called them intemperate at one point, and our colleagues wrote the judge's hands were constantly moving during the hearing between putting his glasses on to read and taking them off, and at one point making hand gestures to the government lawyers. So this is something that the judge clearly is frustrated by, A, the lack of information from the government. He's asked, who's on these planes? How do you know that these were all gang members, et cetera? But there's a separate question as well of, is this the time of war? Should the president have invoked it? So the whole idea of the president saying he didn't sign it, that didn't come up in the courtroom. That came up on the South Lawn of the White House because the president was trying to distance himself for some sort of strange reason. He knows that immigration, actually, the court of public opinion is on his side. He always goes back to, I was elected to do this, but not necessarily not follow the letter of the law. So public opinion may be on his side, but the legality may not be. We shall see.
And so that, Jeff, stay with us because that conversation is going to continue. Let's bring into the conversation the former Chief Judge for the Middle District Court of Pennsylvania, John E. Jones, and our CNN anchor and Chief Legal Analyst, Laura Coates. Judge Jones, I want to start with you. The judge consistently, repeatedly, in an exasperated tone, slamming the Justice Department, saying at one point they were using intemperate and disrespectful language. He said that was, quote, never seen from the United States. Sounds like he's out of patience. What does that tell you?
Well, the first thing I was going to say, John, it's good to be with you, is that maybe the proclamation was signed by an auto pen. Who knows? And it's void from the time that was signed. But seriously, on the question that you asked, this judge has a long fuse from the standpoint of judicial temperament. That fuse has clearly burned down, and he's ready to go off. He's had enough. What's happened all week is that the government is playing hide the ball. They're temporizing. They're not answering the questions that he's put forward. They're making disingenuous arguments. And then today, of course, counsel for the government admitted that he did convey what was a verbal order from the judge, conceded that he knew that that was an order, and he conveyed that, and that was that, and the planes didn't turn around. So this is an evolving story. It kind of has the allure of a slow-motion car crash as you look at it, but I think there's a further showdown coming, and he means to finish up what he started, which is this inquisition about whether his order was violated.
You know this quite well. You're right about the car crash metaphor, and you can see it in the transcripts about the tension and the distrust between. But this judge also knows this is going to go up to an appellate court and probably make it to the Supreme Court. And so that record becomes critically important. So in that regard, what he says, how he talks about the law, how he asks about the law is absolutely essential. What do you make of his line of questioning as he was questioning the lead Justice Department attorney today?
Well, I think he's doing what any good judge would do, John, under the circumstances. You know, the president's position, first of all, the administration is deliberately misrepresenting the role of the judiciary and trying to, as you alluded to earlier, get up and over this legal debate by saying, well, these are bad people and we should throw them out of the country, writing due process completely out of the equation. So what the judge is doing is he's faced with the completely novel application of a 200-year-old statute. And he's saying, it doesn't seem to fit to me. It's a reach. We're not at war with Venezuela. You haven't tied these gang members to anybody in the government. I don't know who was on the plane. I don't know whether it was justified, even if you apply the statute the way the government wants to, whether it's justified to take these guys out, again, simply because you say it is. And in the court of public opinion, I realize people say, well, they're bad guys, we want to get them out of here. But these are due process rights that are enshrined in the Constitution of the United States. And I have to say, Judge Boasberg has been a lot more patient than I might have been, with the government this week, and giving them till next Tuesday to invoke state secrets, which quite...
Elon got so much time in his hands. It's serious, troops, apart from helping Melania sort of slide into Justin's DMs. Now he's free. Should we dive into the latest episode of When Billionaires Play War with Too Much Time on Their Hands? Today, Elon Musk gets a crash course in war games 101 from the Pentagon. That's not a joke, it's actually serious. The man who could barely keep a car on the road without autopilot is now being briefed on US war plans for China. I mean, who better to strategize over nuclear chess than the guy who sold, and this is true, flamethrowers on the internet? It's Friday, yeah. Oh dear, dear, dear. But here's the kicker. While Elon is busy playing Risk on the World Map, back at the home front, he's got a few side quests lined up thanks to having so much time on his hand and being buddies with his VP Trump. First off, I think he's going to help Marco Rubio find his spine. I hear that's been missing since the last vote on climate change. Maybe it's hiding in one of those Tesla cyber trucks. And let's not forget about Miss Kristi Noem. While she's out there cosplaying as an army ranger, have you seen her? I suppose Elon will be somewhere tying her shoelaces together as she looks for another puppy to kill. We wouldn't tripping over the truth, would we? Yeah. Does she ever tell the truth, or is it just all Livette gaslighting? Next up, Elon's got all his time in his hand. He can join forces with Pete Hegseth to scrub the history books clean of any mention of black or female army heroes, because why acknowledge diversity when you can just deny it ever existed? Hey Pete, Elon's in to help you do that one. It's a bit crazy, isn't it? For the grand finale, Elon's got so much time in his hands. Swing by Fox News to install an intravenous drip for Judge Janine Weinbox-Pirro. Straight vodka, I think. Should keep the opinions flowing and the facts minimal. Or non-existent. I think that's what they do on the 5. Did you ever see any truth on that? No. Before he clocks out, by the way, Elon's still got a bit of time to jot down 5 gaslighting headlines for Caroline Yvette. Something like, what should we do? Climate change is just Earth going through puberty, endorsed by none other than, drumroll, you guessed it, Elon's Martian rocks. Do I sound a bit sarcastic? Anyway, should we wrap it up? Because the madness, remember this, if you thought Elon launching cars into space was peak, 2025, just wait until he starts launching nuclear peace treaties. Who needs diplomacy when you got a billionaire with a Twitter account and a Starship